I'm Caleb, a mechanic from a small town in Colorado. One night, after a long day of fixing cars, I was driving home from a repair job. The clock read past midnight, and the road was dark and empty. It was one of those nights where the quiet feels heavy, like something is just waiting to happen. As I rounded a bend, I saw a car parked on the side of the road with its hazard lights on. I'm the kind of guy who can't just drive by when someone might need help, so I pulled over and got out to check. The air was cool, and the only sounds were the crunch of gravel under my boots and the distant rustling of leaves. "Hello." I called out, but there was no answer. I walked around the car and saw that it was empty. The doors were closed, and there was no sign of anyone around. It felt odd, but maybe the driver had gone to get help. I glanced around, but there were no houses or buildings nearby, just trees and darkness. As I turned back towards my truck, I felt a chill run down my spine. You know that feeling when you just know you're being watched? I spun around, and there, standing behind me, was a figure. It was too dark to make out any features, just a shadowy outline. My heart jumped into my throat. "Hey, do you need help?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. No response. The figure just stood there, silent and still. The situation felt wrong, really wrong. I slowly backed away, keeping my eyes on the figure, and hurried to my truck. My hands were shaking as I fumbled with the keys. I jumped into the driver's seat, locked the doors, and took a deep breath. Just as I started the engine, I glanced up and saw the figure again, closer this time. Panic surged through me. I hit the gas and sped off, watching the rearview mirror. The car with the hazard lights was still there, but the figure was gone. As I drove, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being followed. Every time I checked the mirror, the same car was behind me. It kept a steady distance, never getting closer, but never dropping back. I tried to convince myself it was just a coincidence, but it didn't feel right. After a few miles, I took a sharp turn onto a side road, hoping to lose the car. But when I looked back, there it was, still following me. My mind raced with questions. Who was in the car? Why were they following me? What did they want? No answers, just the unsettling feeling that I was in some kind of danger. I decided to head for the nearest gas station, hoping the lights and people would deter whoever was following me. As I pulled into the brightly lit parking lot, I looked in the mirror one last time. The car was gone. Just vanished. I parked and got out, scanning the area, but there was no sign of the car or the mysterious figure. I went inside, bought a coffee, and sat down to gather my thoughts. My hands were still shaking, and my heart was racing. I kept replaying the events in my head, trying to make sense of it all. But there were no answers, only more questions. Who was that figure? Why was the car following me? Was it all just some weird coincidence, or was there something more sinister going on? I didn't know, and that was the most disturbing part. As I sat there under the fluorescent lights, I couldn't shake the feeling that somehow I just narrowly escaped something terrible. And the worst part, I might never know what it was.